you think if you weren't your father's son, you would have been kind of reeled into the mob life?
Guys in that life don't brag. Hey, we killed John F. Kennedy. You don't brag about that.
There's been major scandals going on with gambling, with the NBA, MLB, NFL, all these professional sporting. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your thoughts are?
Yeah. My dad was indicted twice in the state of New York for very serious crimes, 3 times actually, grand larceny and murder. Anytime they can get an athlete under their control, which is not difficult because athletes love to gamble.
I'm surprised that back then the CIA was not involved. They were not like, quote unquote partners with you guys. There was no involvement from the government.
When they needed us, yeah. So he looked at me and he said, I got to ask you one question. And it's going to mean a lot as to how we go forward with this. I said, what? He said, if you ever had to kill somebody, could you do it?
Speaking of the Gotti family, there was another story about you had a run-in with them for a swap meet / flea market deal. And the word on the street was that he bailed you out on it. What really happened?
Well, it's, yeah.
Take us back to Michael Franzese when he was a boy and when you found out that Pops was part of a mob family.
I think we all grew up the same way or all had the same feeling. I hated law enforcement. Hated them. Only because my dad was my idol. He's a great father. I love my dad. And I saw law enforcement around as harassing our family all the time. You guys are special, and as we get into this, you'll understand why. But we don't always let everybody into our home. So you guys are special and class act, so here we go.
Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we're not in our studio.
No,
we're not. It's pretty bright in here.
Yeah.
Very spacious. Beautiful. And we want to thank Mr. Michael Franzese for allowing us to enter his home and set up to do an amazing podcast with you. Thank you, Michael.
Well, thank you. And you guys are special. And as we get into this, you'll understand why. But we don't always let everybody into our home. So you guys are special and class act. So here we go.
Well, you guys have a beautiful home.
Thank you.
Thank you for welcoming us.
Thank you.
So there's a lot we could talk about. But right off the bat, we want to jump into a time machine and go back in time a little bit. You grew up in a very interesting family, in a very interesting neighborhood. Take us back to Michael Franzese when he was a boy and when you found out that Pops was part of a mob family.
Yeah, we grew up in a section of Brooklyn called Greenpoint, Williamsburg area. My dad was one of 19 kids. So we kind of controlled the whole neighborhood because everybody knew my grandfather was a pretty popular guy. He had a bakery in town there. And, my dad was such a high-profile figure that the first I remember of seeing something different with my dad, I was probably 3 years old. And I didn't know this at the time, but there was a war going on in the Colombo family. My dad had been gone for a couple of days. He wasn't around, right? Then all of a sudden he comes into the house and one of his guys was out on the porch that we had there. And he was kind of like standing guard. Now I understand what it was. My dad had a heavy beard. He came in, he hugged my mother. And then he came over to me. I was sitting on the steps, just watching all of this. He hugged me. And then he disappeared again for a couple of days. But that's vivid in my mind. I didn't understand why that was going on at the time. Nobody explained it to me. But again, there was a war in our family, and my dad was, an active participant in that. So that struck me early on. I never questioned it. I never asked about it. But, I'm 74 now, and I still remember that vividly. And then, my dad, he was such a high-profile figure. He was kind of like the John Gotti of his day, constantly in the media. Law enforcement was constantly around us. My dad was getting arrested. So, I knew this from the time I was a young kid. Then you hear people talking. You don't understand exactly what it is. You don't pick it up right away. But then it all starts to come together. And then, of course, he gets arrested. He's away. He's in jail. We're visiting him. So this happened early on in my life.
So what about mom? Because they talk about the mob bosses, the captains, the soldiers being part of a mafia, being made men. What was it like for mom knowing that, my husband is involved in certain activities that may get him killed one day?
Well, early on, I didn't have that discussion with my mother, but obviously she loved my father. And, I think we all grew up the same way or all had that same feeling. I hated law enforcement, hated them. Only because my dad was my idol. He was a great father. I loved my dad. And I saw law enforcement around as harassing our family all the time, and going after my dad. And because my dad, one thing he never did, many things I respect about him, he never brought what was going on in the outside world into the house. He didn't talk about it. He didn't badmouth it. He didn't do anything. We were just a family in the house. So everything I knew from observation. And back then, my dad's under surveillance from 7 or 8 different agencies, and they would have their cars parked around my house 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wherever we would go, we had a parade of law enforcement vehicles following us. So right away, they were the enemy. I hated them. And I think my mom had the same feeling, because it's our husbands, my dad, we loved him. And we didn't, it's funny that you say this because my daughters do a podcast. And one of the questions they were asked, did you ever see Dad? You watch the movies. I mean, people die in that life. People kill people. Do you ever see your dad doing something like that? And they were both like, I don't know if I can see my father doing that, So for me, it was kind of the same thing. This is my dad. Come on, he doesn't do anything wrong, until I got older and understood a little bit more. But it was just so much part of our life. It was just normal.
Were your kids around when you were involved in the mob, or
my
your
kids
weren't born yet?
I was married. My wife and I married 40 years, but I was married for a short time, and I had 3 children in 3 years. So they were involved. They were around when I was involved. I got arrested many times with them there, even though they were younger. So they understood what was going on. So, you have to catch the vibe. You can't not know, when you see everything happening around you.
But then you have a total of 7 kids, right?
I have 7 kids now.
Then the 4 others were never...
Well, they were because I was in prison,
right?
During that time. And they visited me for 8 years.
Okay.
So except for my youngest daughter, she was born when I finally got out of prison. And, I was home for about 2 years. My wife got pregnant. She was born. So she never experienced that. But she's the only one out of the 7. The other 6 all went through it.
Do you think if you weren't your father's son, you would have been kind of reeled into the mob life?
No, definitely not. I was, I was kind of a normal kid. I played sports in school. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. I was, I had my sights set on becoming a doctor. I was a pre-med student for 2 years in college. So I wouldn't have gone. I never aspired to be a mob guy. It wasn't my, if you would have said to me, back when I was a kid, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to play center field for the New York Yankees. Mickey Mantle was my idol back then. So I never had any aspirations of being involved in that life. Never.
What kind of, I want to say, dragged you into it at that point?
Simple. My dad, who was indicted twice in the state of New York for very serious crimes, 3 times actually, grand larceny and murder. He goes to trial. He gets acquitted. But then he's indicted again in 1966 for masterminding a nationwide string of bank robberies by the feds. He gets convicted and he sentenced him to 50 years, 5-0. So I was a pre-med student at that time. I was 19 years old. And I went to visit my dad in Leavenworth Penitentiary. And I said to him, Dad, bank robbery. He said, son, I'm no bank robber. I was framed on this case. I'm innocent. I don't rob banks. And my dad never lied to me. So I believed him. So I said, well, you're going to spend 50 years? It's a death sentence. You're 50 years old now. Long story short, Joe Colombo, who was the boss of our family, he kind of took me under his wing. I knew the family well. And I started to meet a lot of my dad's friends. And they said, Mike, if you don't help your father, he's going to die in prison. So I lose interest in school. And that's when I visited my dad in Leavenworth. I said, Dad, if I don't help you out, you're going to die in here. And we had a very deep conversation in the visiting room. And look, I don't like to talk about this a lot, but, you fellas have been great in coming out here. He said to me, if you're going to be on the street, I want you on the street the right way. He said, and the right way is to become a member of my life. So he looked at me and he said, I got to ask you one question, and it's going to mean a lot as to how we go forward with this. I said, what? He said, if you ever had to kill somebody, could you do it? No, never involved in anything like that. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, yeah, Dad, under the right conditions, right circumstances, yeah, I could do it.
And how old are you at this time?
I was 20. And he said, that's the right answer. He said, go home, somebody will be in touch with you, do whatever you're told. And that's when he proposed me for membership into the life. You can't just come in, you can't just meet somebody and say, I'd like to join. What do I have to do? You know, somebody has to propose you, vouch for you. So my father knew me. He knew I had it in me, you know, my dad, so he knew me well. And that's when he made that decision, and I accepted.
Were you the only child of your father who joined?
I had two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. My older brother, I don't even think he got a traffic ticket in his life. He's, you know, he's that way. My only brother, the only problem he has, he was married 6 times, you know, paid 6 alimonies. But other than that, you know, he's a straight shooter in that regard. And my younger brother was a street kid, but had a serious drug problem.
6 times? How many kids did he have?
My dad had,
No, your brother, your older brother.
My older brother has, I think, 8. Yeah, 8 and 9.
So 6 marriages, 8 or 9 kids.
Yeah,
It's
8
not
and
a
9
bad ratio.
kids. Not, yeah.
1.5 per marriage.
Yeah, kind of, you know, I don't know. He's tough to follow, I can tell you. And my younger brother, like I said, had a very serious drug problem. So he was a street kid, but the problem with my brother is me trying to keep him alive with all the stuff he was into. It was another disaster with drugs, but he's okay now, straightened out, but it was rough with him. So I was the only one.
How old was Dad when he got out?
When my dad finally got out?
Yes.
Well, he did 40 years altogether, but he was in and out 5 times on parole violations. He came out, they violated his parole, he went back 5 times. His final release date, after doing 40 years, was in 2017. He was 100 years old.
He was 100 years old when he got out.
He was the oldest inmate in the federal system.
Now, was your dad in jail when Joe was killed?
Joey Colombo?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad was away. We were at a big rally at Columbus Circle in New York. And it was the 2nd annual Italian-American Civil Rights Day rally. And they had a big stage right by the monument there. And he had called me up on the stage, and he handed me some brochures to hand out in the Central Park area. And I walked away, and that's when the shots rang out. And that's when he went down. So I was there during that whole thing.
Because your dad was the underboss for Joe Colombo, correct?
Yes.
What was his initial reaction or who told him, and what was his initial reaction to Joe's death?
Well, I went to visit him shortly after because, you know, I was still young. I said, Dad, what's going on here? You know, my feet weren't that wet yet.
So you weren't a made man at the point?
I wasn't made. No, I wasn't made. I wasn't even a recruit at that time. It was right after Joey happened that my father, you know, proposed me. But he said to me, he said, I told you I didn't want you to go in. He didn't want me to be a part of the league. He said, I don't want you around there. He said, it's not going to do good for you. Everybody in that league is going to get in trouble. My father knew it from prison. He said, you can't be doing what he's doing. So he loved Joey, don't get me wrong, but he was worried, and rightfully so. So, you know, he said, this is the life, Mike. This is it. And like I said, it was shortly after that he proposed me. We had that meeting.
When you're involved in an accident, choosing the right attorney is the most important decision you could ever make. Let us show you why Megadician Law is different from everybody else. With a full litigation team of over 11 attorneys, we're able to take your case to trial. More importantly, the foundational pedigree of our business is customer service, so you'll always get a call. And lastly, we're results driven. We win. Let us show you how. Give us a call, 818-530-1300 or www.bestcaraccidentattorney.com.
Some doctors treat pain, others help you understand it. Dr. Rafi Garegian has dedicated his career to helping people live stronger, healthier, and more aware of their bodies. His approach goes beyond quick fixes. It's about rebuilding movement, discipline, and mindset. A true professional who's changing the way people think about health and recovery. Presented by the Wisenuts Podcast, highlighting leaders who make a difference.
You know, in some of your interviews, I've heard you talk about the rules you guys used to live by, one of which stood out with me, which I preach the same thing to my kids and my staff, is if you're on time, you're late, right? I remember you were sharing a story about how in the morning you had a meeting to attend to and you were concerned about traffic, and you're like, well, maybe I should just go spend the night in my car to make sure I'm not late, because that's one thing that was not allowed. One of many that was
Never
not allowed.
be late.
Yeah.
Never be late. No excuse.
So as far as like the whole, the psychological tactics or just overall the mentality of being in the mob, what are some of the things that you've been able to use, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, with your life today, or even just teachings to your own kids? What are some of those tactics that's been working for you in business or in your personal life?
Well, a lot of good things, because number one, I've learned in life, you got to be disciplined. That life, you have to have discipline. You have an order, you got to follow through. You have a meeting, you got to be there on time, never be late. You got to learn how to respect authority. And it's serious in that life, because the consequences of not respecting authority could be very serious. So you learn discipline, you learn how to respect authority. In my particular case, because I was pretty high profile and I was involved in a lot of businesses, I learned how to negotiate. You have to learn how to negotiate in that life respectfully. And because if you don't get anywhere. Trust me. So those things, those tactics I learned how to really network and get around people. I was one of the younger guys, and the older guys resented you for it, especially when you're doing well. If you're not doing well, nobody cares. You don't matter. But when you're doing well, financially and other ways, you got a lot of resentment. Guys have been there 20 years. You're making a lot more money than them. You got a bigger crew. They resent you for it, even though they shouldn't. They do. So, you got to learn how to really be diplomatic with people, make them feel good, even though they're older than you. You cater to them a little bit, even though there's times I had a higher position. I was a cop regime. They were soldiers, but I still made them feel good. So you really learn how to deal with people. Very, very important. Look, I've learned the whole thing in life is all about networking and relationships. You have a product you want to sell. The first product that people are looking at are you, the salesperson. So you got to learn how to, everything is built upon relationships. And in that life, you have to be smart about it, because you're going to make enemies, whether you like it or not. You could be the best guy out there. That could make you more enemies.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was you, Michael, it was you that made that video where you were talking about sitting at a dining room table and the way you would pour the wine would send certain messages to individuals. Could you tell us some of the coding and some of the secret phrases that you guys have? Because obviously now we know that the pouring of the wine a certain way, a certain with the order tells you a certain message.
I'll give you an example too. Let's say you're a maid guy with the Genovese family. Mm-hmm. I'm maid with the Colombos, but we never met as maid guys, right? I can't just go up to you, even though I know you're a maid, say, hey, you got maid with the Genovese, correct? I'm in trouble for that. That's against protocol. You're not supposed to do that. So I would need a third person that was maid that knew the both of us, had already been introduced to both of us, and he would go, Amiga Nostra, Michael, Amiga Nostra, so-and-so. And that means a friend of ours. Not a friend of yours, not a friend of mine. Amiga Nostra means a friend of ours. So if I introduced you as a friend of ours, then you're a maid guy. If I say, hey, this is a friend of mine, then, just a regular guy. We don't talk in front of him properly. So very subtle things like that, because you don't want to telegraph things to people. Things were very subtle. It's like the whole pouring of the wine. Very subtle. We noticed somebody at the table that, hey, I just realized we shouldn't be talking in front of this guy. It just hit me. Or somebody comes over to the table and sits down that maybe the other guys don't know about him, but I know something. So I take the wine, Franzese wine, of course, and I pour it this way when I get to him. And that means everybody's observant to that, because when somebody at the table would get up and pick up the wine to pour it, all the other maid guys knew, why is he doing this? And they'd watch. And we got to the guy and poured it backwards. Okay, keep quiet at the table. This guy's no good.
The guy you're pouring for, though, doesn't realize that, or that you pour it differently?
The guy that would pour, he'd be the guy that realized we shouldn't be talking in front of this guy. So he would get up and alert. You don't want to get up and say, hey, don't talk in front of this guy. He's no good.
Right,
don't say that.
But the guy that showed up, let's say at the end, and one of the maid men gets up and pours it in the opposite direction to signal.
He wouldn't know. He's not looking for that. No.
Okay.
And if he is, that means he's an informant or he's undercover or something.
He's got a wire.
So, yeah.
You mentioned negotiations earlier. What are some tactics that you still use for negotiation? Because I remember even with your whole wine distribution, you guys took a different approach. It was kind of unorthodox how you approached it, right? You didn't go to the distributors first.
Correct.
First, you kind of set your footprint with potential stores like the Costco's and the Total Wines of the world. Then you went to a distributor,
Correct.
which tells me that was probably a negotiation tactic that how are you able to utilize that in other areas of your life that you've learned from?
Well, again, networking, negotiation, relationships, it's all the same. I tell people all the time, because I do, a lot of seminars on this. First of all, whenever you're going to sit down with somebody, you got to be well prepared. You got to know who you're sitting with. That's obvious. You got to know how to read the room. Me, I have a great tactic. I let you talk as much as you want to talk, and I keep quiet, because if I come in, sometimes I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I don't want anybody to know that. So what do? I keep quiet and I let them talk. And then I know everything that I need to know by the end of them talking. Because some people out there, they just have a habit. When they get the stage, they just love to talk. They give everything up. There's other times when you're not the smartest guy in the room, and you need to learn in that negotiation what's really going on. So there's a way, that I get people to talk. And this way I know the information that I need. He's feeding me all. You also have to know, what is it that you want to settle for? What do you want to get coming out of this negotiation? What would you settle for if you can't get that way? You got to be, you got to have a technique to know how to turn things your way. And then lastly, what would you get up and say, I'm done. This isn't working for me. So it is a skill, and it's really learning how to read people and read the room. And because of the position that I was in, especially when I was in the gas business, and I had all these crazy guys around me, I had to be in a sit down, which was we call a formal meeting, daily. I'm sitting down with people daily. I could be negotiating over a business deal. I could be negotiating over somebody's life. And so you get to understand skillfully how to read people and how to come out of there with what you want.
Now, you mentioned something about your family not liking law enforcement. Was there any time in your life, whether it was with law enforcement, FBI, sheriff's departments, CIA, where you did have a good relationship with them, where they kind of helped you or your family out at all?
Well, yeah. Understand this. In New York, we have 5 families. Total number of guys during my era was about 750 made guys, comprised all 5 families. Now, obviously, we had a lot of associates around, right? We had members of our family that were in law enforcement. We had our neighbors that were in law enforcement. So we got along with them, obviously. Mostly on the local level. Police, not so much in the FBI. Fed's a little bit different. So, yeah, we got favors done. We didn't hate every individual. We might have disagreed with what they chose as a profession, but we got along with them. Listen, I got along with a lot of cops. We did favors for one another. They needed information sometimes, not on other people, but, hey, Michael, what if something like this would happen? How would you deal with it, Oh, this is how I would deal with it, something like that. And in turn, they did favors for us, honestly. So it wasn't always this hate thing. But what we always told law enforcement, listen, we understand what side you're on, and you know what we are on. We do your investigations, do your work, come after us, just don't frame us.
Interesting.
You got all the tools, you got all the weapons, you got everything in your favor. Don't frame us. But if you get us the right way, what are we going to do? We go.
Now, I want to know if this story was true. There was talks about the movie The Godfather, which was being released at the time.
During my era.
Yeah, during your era, and Joe Colombo was alive at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Is it true that Joe Colombo and the Italian Mafia actually had a hand in production when it came to certain aspects of the movie to change and tweak things up?
100%. Joe Colombo played a major role in that. He reviewed the script. He had the word mafia taken out of the script. He told them straight out, if you don't conform to some of the things that we want, there won't be a movie. The unions will close you down. We actually did close them down for a couple of days when they didn't go along with certain things. Joe Colombo had a big part in framing that movie. And they knew they had to, they had to comply, or whatever. Especially back then, when we controlled the unions. You're not working if you're not doing, if you don't have the unions with you. That's it. So yeah, there was a major part. And I remember, Al Ruddy came down to our Italian-American Civil Rights League meetings, and Joe Colombo introduced him, You saw the movie, the TV series, I forget, The Offer. Have you seen that?
The Offer?
It was a you gotta watch it. Limited series. It came out by Paramount a couple of years ago. Brilliantly done. Wasn't 100% accurate. They always take liberty, but it was pretty close to what happened during that time. It was very well done.
What about the movies like, for example, Bronx Tale, or obviously one of the most famous series is The Sopranos? How accurate are those types of movies and series?
I have to say this again. The most accurate mob movie, as far as authenticity, accuracy ever made, in my opinion, and I think I could call myself an expert on that, was the 1996 movie entitled Gotti, with Armand Assante, Anthony Quinn. Brilliantly done, brilliantly acted. Armand Assante just nailed it. Anthony Quinn nailed it. I knew them, so obviously I know, the characters. It was brilliantly done, very authentic and very realistic, because the script was written quite a bit off of the surveillance tapes on Gotti, which were the thousands of hours of it. So it was really good. You can get it on YouTube, watch it. It's terrific. Obviously, Goodfellas, they mentioned me in that movie. I knew all those guys. Very accurate, and really well acted and well directed, and pretty authentic portrayal of that life. The same with Donnie Brasco. Just 2 days ago, I had the real Donnie Brasco in my studio. Joe Pistone took his name for the street, but the real Donnie Brasco also followed Joe into the FBI, and he was in the FBI for 20 years, but I did a great interview with him. So very authentic, really well done. I knew those guys also. Bronx Tale with Chaz, wonderful movie. And Chaz, I always tell Chaz, that was the best role you ever played, no doubt. He was brilliant as Sonny in that role. I thought he was patterning it after my father, but because his character kind of mirrored my dad in a way. He didn't know it at the time, but I said, you nailed it. And I love the movie. So it was good.
And the name Sonny, what is Sonny short for? Because your dad's name was Sonny as well, right?
Yeah, but it was just my grandmother calling my father Sonny.
Really?
And the name stuck. Yeah, his name is John, his real name. But my grandmother always called him Sonny, and it just stuck.
Is it because like a son just with an E, Sonny, or
no? It's Sonny.
And then Y.
Yeah.
So it's not an Italian name or anything.
No. He was one of 19. There were only 4 boys, 15 girls. So he was the youngest boy. And I don't know why my grandmother called him Sonny, but it just stuck.
That's interesting, because in the Bronx Tale, you have the character Sonny as well, which is why you're kind of compared the apples to apples to it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Gotti family, there was another story about you had a run-in with him for a swap meet / flea market deal. And the word on the street was that he bailed you out on it. What really happened?
Well, it's, interpretation. Let's put it that way. What happened was there was a guy that had a flea market, which were very lucrative back in the day, still lucrative. And one of his partners was dealing drugs in the flea market and was ruining the market. So the guy, who happened to be an accountant, came to me. Back in the day, when you had a problem, a lot of guys had a problem, they would look to guys like us to help them out. So I was kind of the guy he knew of, and he came to me and he says, Michael, I got this problem. My partner is dealing drugs in the market. The cops are going to come. They're going to close us down. And so he says, can you help me out? He won't listen to me. So I got a hold of the guy, and I chased him out of the market. I said, you're not a partner here anymore. You're ruining the place. Get out. I chased him out. A couple of days later, I get a call from Gotti. Mike, I got to see him. I go see him. He says, that guy you chased out of the market, he's with me. I said, John, how could he be with you? He's dealing drugs. We're not allowed to deal with drugs. No, he's with me. I'll make sure he don't deal drugs anymore. He's back in the market. I said, no, he can't come back. So we're having this dispute, and then eventually we have to have a sit down over it to decide how it's going to work out. So I go to my boss at the time, and I said, listen, I'm never going to get along with Gotti. No way. I said, and this guy, if he comes back in the market, he's going to destroy it. So I got to sit down. I'm going to ask John to buy me out. Buy me out of the market. But knowing John, that would be like a loss for him. So I said, he's not going to let me buy him out. He's going to say, I buy you out. And that's how I engineered it. So at the end of the day, we sat down, we argued back and forth. I said, John, I'm going to buy you out. My guy was here first. He's the real brains behind them all. No. We're going to work together, blah, blah, blah. And we back and forth. I said, John, I'm buying you out. He said, no, if anything, I'll buy you out. He finally came to that. I said, okay. So he bought me out. Don't forget, I think it was about $225,000, something like that at the time. I gave my guy money. I took some money. And that was it. We left. So John was able to tell everybody, I got Michael out of the market. But within 3 months, the market closed. It closed because I knew it wouldn't last. John's not a business guy at all, Gotti. And he might have said, I took Michael out of the market, but really that's how I planned it.
So the buyout, quote unquote, was basically BS.
Yes.
Maybe you can use that tactic in real estate.
Oh, really? That's the way. With the way the real estate market's headed, I think it's gonna buy itself out, as they say. I mean, it's a very interesting market.
See, and there again, it's a negotiation that I knew I couldn't be in business with John Gotti. I knew that. Look, you go out and have a drink with him, you talk, socialize, great, right? A lot of fun. In business, no. So I knew I couldn't exist with him in a business situation.
What was the relationship between the Gambino family and the Colombo family?
It was good. Yeah, we had good relationships. Yeah, there's no warring going on among the families like that.
So the rumors behind
coexist. You have to all coexist in the same industry, same region.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, look, you got along, you didn't get along, you had a dispute, you resolved it, right? You didn't start shooting each other. People don't understand. Whenever there's a war going on in the families, it's a civil war. It's a war always for leadership, but it's among yourself. It's not all the families don't get involved in it, and you go to war with each other. That stopped back in the 20s and 30s.
We were discussing earlier about how obviously we're all content creators now, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think if the mob was to start from scratch today with everything that exists as far as tech and social media? How different would it be as far as whether it's the recruiting, whether it's however they, run their organizations, and how different would it be in today's era?
It would be difficult today in some respects because of the sophistication of law enforcement, the new technology that they have, the laws that they have. The RICO statute was really the final blow in many ways for the mob as I knew it, the way we were, in control of the unions, in control of a major part of the country in some ways. The RICO statute destroyed all of that. So it would be very difficult to ever reach the level that we reached at one point, because you got to understand, at one point we had a major control in this country. I mean, when the CIA and the government is going to Lucky Luciano, to ask for help in World War II, when they're going to coming to us, guys in Chicago and New Orleans, and asking for help to assassinate John F. Kennedy. I mean, you got a lot of juice when they're coming to you for help like that. Understand that. And they did. And that's real. So it would be very difficult today, to get in a real organized crime situation without, in some way, having help from the government. You won't last.
Because even, over the years, we've interviewed former CIA officers and individuals who have also worked with the cartel. It seems like in today's environment, the CIA is involved in pretty much everything. They know even when we interviewed Freeway Rick Ross, right? And this was back in the 80s, the CIA was involved in helping him distribute drugs in LA. Without him knowing. But I'm surprised that back then the CIA was not involved. They were not quote unquote partners with you guys, where they were aware of what was going on, but they allowed you guys to do it because somehow you were helping them, push their agenda as well. There was no involvement from the government.
When they needed us, yeah. When they needed us. It wasn't a day-to-day thing, but like I said, during the war effort, when we controlled the docks and they needed access in and out and they needed to know who was coming into our ports in New York, they came to us and we worked out a deal. We got Luciano out of prison at that time because of that. When they needed to land our allies in Sicily, again, Luciano worked that all out for them. So when they needed us, they came to us. When they were going to assassinate Castro, they came to us. They wanted to poison him. This is real. This is not like, oh, maybe it happened. No, this actually happened. So when they needed us, they came to us. The FBI, when they needed us, they came to us. I mean, they had one of our guys, Gray Scarpa, go down there and try to find out who was involved in the civil rights murders. And they sent him down there to do whatever he had to do to bring these guys back. If he had to kill them, beat them up, didn't matter. So they've worked with us when they needed us.
Did they come to you guys during JFK as well, or no?
Yeah, 100%. Yes. Look, I've heard this my whole life. You got to understand, guys in that life don't brag. Hey, we killed John F. Kennedy. You don't brag about that. But I heard it consistently from my dad and from people in the know at that time. There's no question that we were involved in that. How were we involved? The CIA, or whatever government agency set it up, but they came to us to get rid of Oswald. Jack Ruby was around, goes back to us from the days of Al Capone. He was totally tied in with us. He just happened to be in that police station. He just happened to be a patriot, and he just happened to be able to get to Oswald. No.
Do you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was the actual assassin, or was he a martyr?
I think he was one of them. Yeah, there was definitely more than one, 100% more than one assassin that day, without a doubt. But he was one of them. They set him up also.
So he was a martyr at that point.
They knew they were going to take him out because they're not going to trust him. Maybe he's going to point fingers at some point in time. So they're going to take him out. That was a smart move at that time. Ruby happened to have cancer. But you know how you know this? The Warren Commission at that time, they claimed that Ruby was never involved with organized crime. That was a joke to say that. They wouldn't even acknowledge that he was an organized crime member. And I've said this consistently, and I don't know if it'll ever come out because our government does what the government does. But the reason this won't leak out in any of these classified documents is because the government doesn't ever want the world to know that a sitting president was able to be assassinated by organized crime. That don't make them look good at all. So those classified documents, every year they're going to release them, they don't release them. It's the same like the whole Epstein file. They can release this if they wanted to, but there's big names involved and they're not going to release it. And that's the bottom line. It's, anybody with any sense of the street understands what's happening. Because we think that the government is so, upright and honest and having integrity. No. I recently wrote a book, called it The Mafia Democracy. Because the real mafia is in Washington. Real mafia is our government.
Absolutely.
Not only in this country, but in countries around the world. They do things deceitfully and deceptively all the time. And they'll kill people when they need to. They'll do whatever they need to do.
We saw an assassination last month right in front of our eyes, right? With Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Imagine with all the technology we have, that particular university has, over 2,000 cameras. And yet we have no idea who did it, what the motive was. Now, if we go back 60 some years ago with JFK's assassination, where there was limited technology, and now we're trying to figure out, well, if they release the classified documents, and maybe obviously the government knows who did it. They were involved. But it just seems like we'll never know the truth. I mean, even this was the first public assassination that we've experienced in our lifetime.
I mean, it was compared to a modern day assassination as far as comparing it to Martin Luther King.
Yeah. We weren't, born back then, but it just goes to show you how they can cover things up however they want. There's a million theories floating out there on social media and, about the wife and Trump and so on and all these different relationships and her father and, Israel and a million different things. So I don't know if we'll ever know the truth.
Well, it's worse now because social media, if you notice, all of a sudden you have all these, amateur sleuths and detectives and investigators that are coming up. They're dissecting the video and they're saying this and who knows? The bottom line is, are we ever going to know the truth? Probably not. If they don't want us to know, we're not going to know.
Absolutely right. And it proves it with the JFK classified files. I mean, one of Trump's messages to us was, if I'm elected president, I'm going to declassify the JFK files. I mean, you're close to a year in office now. We're still waiting for those.
Remember this, sometimes you don't understand the whole mechanism and operation of government. Trump may have had the best of intentions until somebody grabbed a hold of him and said, hey, you know who's involved in this? Can't be doing this. so-and-so from this country, this and that and that, and then all these money people. You can't be doing that. Forget it. You know, Trump, you want to make that many enemies? People don't need to know this. Just
So at
bury
that
it.
point, he's just falling on the sword left and right.
I mean, sometimes, you know, there are other forces at work. You know, you got people at BlackRock. What do they have? How many $1 trillion do they control? You know, they can move the needle in a lot of different directions, you know, around the world.
They're larger than the third largest economy in the world.
What do you need to reveal this for? Best you just leave it alone. Trump might have had the best of intention until it really becomes real and they say, hey, relax. You don't need this out there. You know, those things are done. Trust me. I had the guy that was a Democratic leader in New York who was very close to our crew, our family. He opened my eyes about so many things way back when, you know, the way the government operation is. They're not going to tell us what they don't want us to know, period. You know, now, I mean, all these theories with Charlie Kirk. Was it, you know, we have all this anti-Semitism going on. So now it seems like the Jews get blamed for everything. No matter what, they control the whole world all of a sudden. I don't believe that. You
Joe
believe that,
doesn't
you believe
believe
in
that.
Santa Claus. You don't control the whole world. But, you know, they have input, of course. But I kind of laugh at it a little bit because, wow, everybody became a detective. They're dissecting the videos and they're showing this and they're all becoming detectives. So with social media now, it's even worse than ever. But will we get straight answers? They lost John F. Kennedy's brain. How do you lose the brain of the President of the United States? They lost his brain. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, it was in a museum and then it disappeared and they said they lost it. What did it fall out of the thing and somebody stepped in it or threw it in the trash? They lost JFK's brain. Because they don't want us to, an autopsy will reveal a lot. They don't want us to know what's going on there. So it disappears.
Do you believe that a lot of the fingers may point to Israel with the John F. Kennedy assassination?
I never heard that until recently. All this anti-Semite stuff. I mean, no question the government was involved in that, CIA or whatever. Why? He made enemies, you know? So I don't want to blame Israel for everything because I don't have evidence of that. I really don't. And I have learned one thing in my life, you know, recently with the Epstein thing. Oh, Trump is doing this and that. And I tell people, listen, you're accusing somebody of being a pedophile. Is there anything worse in this life than abusing children in that regard? You bring that, you better have the receipts and the evidence when you talk about that. Just because these files are not being released, this is over your head. There are a lot of people involved in this, a lot.
Michael,
Remember with Epstein, this was going on for years. He had videos on all of these bedrooms. There's more videos than we can even imagine. We wouldn't have time to watch them all. Who the heck knows who was involved in that and how many people, high-profile people were involved in that. They don't want that stuff to come out. I mean, they're letting Prince Andrew's stuff come out because I think that one gal, Virginia Giuffre, she really put him on blast. But there's other people involved. They don't want this to come out. No
I think you're absolutely right. And it shows you who's really in control and who's really in power. An individual like Trump, a multi-billionaire who practically owns billions and billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars in real estate all over the world, as far as his organization is concerned, doesn't have the power to release certain classified documents that he promised.
Well, everybody ran on that. I mean, Kash Patel, Bangino, right? These guys all ran on that, the whole Epstein file thing. And the moment they got into office, it's like they'd seen a ghost. Their demeanor had completely changed. You know, just looking at how they were speaking of the files, it's like, oh no, never existed.
Everybody's pupils dilated all of a sudden.
Completely, yeah. They look dilated and as if somebody knocked on their door and said, listen, here's a picture of your family or whatever they showed them.
Well, listen, you want to let this out, okay, but these other 10 people are going to come out too. Is this what you want? What do we have to do this? Why don't we just relax and live it alone? Oh, the American people will get over it. Don't worry about it. You know, they'll holler and scream and yell and then they'll forget about it, which happens most of the time anyway. Right?
Yeah.
So it becomes very hot and then it calms down and people forget about it.
Wait, there's always something new that's going to hit the news. I mean, right after was the whole Charlie Kirk situation, assassination, and then now God knows whatever else they're going to.
Listen, I will tell you this, and nobody's going to change my mind. I was on the same tier, in the same cell block that Epstein was on. There's no way, in my view, in my experience, that he could have committed suicide.
Did you ever meet him?
No, I never met Epstein. But I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary. I spent all that 7 months in MCC and MDC in solitary most of the time. I couldn't have committed suicide if I wanted to. By hanging myself, there's nothing there to hang yourself from. There's nothing on the ceiling. They tried to make it sound like on the bedpost. Nonsense. You can't do it. You cannot do it. You'd have to work so hard at trying to do it. And, you got cameras on. All of a sudden, they weren't working. All of a sudden, the cameras weren't working.
And not only
Nobody
that,
was patrolling the tier.
There was a minute of footage missing.
A minute and a half of footage missing. He's got 3 bones broken in his neck that the autopsy said, that doesn't happen by suicide. You choked to death with suicide. He couldn't have jumped off of anything because there's nothing to jump off of. The crime scene, a disaster. Do you know it took the FBI 7 hours from the time they were notified to get over to the crime scene when their number one guy under arrest in the country, the most high-profile guy, it took them 7 hours to walk across the street because their offices are right across the street from the jail. They didn't mark off the crime scene at all. Everybody had walked in there. They contaminated the whole crime scene. Come on. That does not happen.
Nothing is believable at this point. It's like it's a big stage, and we're just watching a show play in front of us, and there's nothing we can do about it.
And listen, it got out of control with him. Yeah. Did they kill this guy? Of course they'll kill him. If he starts to talk, he's going to ruin because he's got the goods on everybody.
Yeah,
because it's not abnormal.
I mean, why is Maxine still in jail?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, my theory, again, hey, Maxine, you're alive. Keep your mouth shut. You're going to get out of here, and you're going to go on with your life. If you want to start talking, look what happened to Epstein. Don't put that past them. Believe me. Sometimes it's the government. They got to, please. I saw these guys do things on the street. We had an agent Del Vecchio and the Mafia cops, you heard that. They were giving us information on who to kill. Fact, you could look this up. Agent Del Vecchio was killing people along with my guy, Greg Scarpa, inciting wars among the families. When they could be very rogue. Don't put any stuff past them like they're lily white. It's not that way. Now, I'm not throwing a blanket over everybody. Don't get me wrong. But don't think that these agencies won't stoop to that or won't engage in that. They absolutely will.
At the end of the day, who are you to them?
Nobody.
Exactly.
I mean, they'll use you, abuse you, and then...
Hey, Epstein, they got whatever value they got out of him. No, we can't let this guy talk. Get rid of him.
Technology should move your business forward, not hold it back. At Titan Elite IT Services and Consulting, we make sure it does. Our clients don't wait days for help. They get real-time answers, fast resolutions, and dedicated support, both on-site and remote. From Los Angeles to Orange and Ventura counties, our coverage is local, statewide, and nationwide. When you need us, we're already on the way. We're not just an MSP. We build with you. From cloud migration to security to every endpoint in your network.
At Titan Elite, we don't just solve problems. We prevent them from happening. We become a part of your team and we grow with you.
Titan Elite IT Services and Consulting. Strategic, scalable, trusted, and always on.
Are you looking for a place to kick back and celebrate? Well, the Glen Arden Club has got you covered. Upstairs, you got a private lounge with a cigar room. Downstairs, you got the Moose Den, where you can have cocktails and private events. Hey, are you even hungry? They got an outside pizzeria serving one of the best pizzas in town. If you're interested in becoming a member with the Glen Arden Club or booking an event, contact the Wisenuts. We'll connect you to the boys at the Glen Arden, and you could become a member here or host your next gathering.
What just crossed my mind, Michael, as I'm looking around your house and I see some of your grandkids' toys here. Do they know anything about your past, your grandkids?
Well, my oldest granddaughter does because, I'm still out there so much. I mean, you'd have to be, if you were living with us or in my family and you didn't know it, there would be something wrong. She's 13. And she knows it, and, but I'm grandpa.
That's what I'm wondering. Are you grandpa to them, or do they does she look at you as kind of the man you were in your younger days you're just grandpa to her?
Grandpa. she knows everything, and, she'll ask me little questions here and there, but it's funny, to my kids, I'm just dad. Really.
Did you ever?
My daughters can't understand. Could my dad be? They had said it on their podcast. They have this. It was funny because we've had a number of production companies come to want to do a reality show on our family, and all my kids always said no. I said, look, I present it. Always said no. My wife said no. Right? They don't jump in front of a camera. Not at all. They've just been that way, right? And yet, in the last 2-3 months, two of my daughters came to me and said, we want to do a podcast. Why? We just feel like we want to. We have some interesting things to talk about. And they're doing it. And I have never sat down with any of my kids and talked to them about my former life. Never. Till this very moment. We talked a little bit about it on a podcast, because they asked me some questions. We had never talked. I don't even talk about to my wife. I still have that. You don't talk about that with your family.
No,
because look at the Gotti family, man. They made a reality show, and they became the laughing stock of the world at that point. They were like, "What the hell's going on? These are John Gotti's grandkids and kids. What the hell's going on here?"
I think there's certain people or certain industries or families that it's better left kind of that mystical versus everything being exposed.
I'm going to tell you this. I got a company within 2 weeks. They're going to make me a big offer too on a reality show. There's no question.
Don't do it.
Well,
don't do it, Michael.
Let me tell you, I'm not going to do it. But the difference now is we're adults. We're not kids anymore. But look, I told my daughters, you guys want to make some real money. If they come in, I'll leave it all up to all of you. But aside from that, now one thing I am excited about, honestly, for the last 20 years. I've been approached so often to have a movie done on my life. And I always said no. And my wife was never into that, which I was happy about. But recently, in the last 2 years, a very legit company with a couple of great writers have came to me. And they said, one guy said to me, presented me, he says, Michael, they're going to make a movie on your life. There's no question. If they do it when you're dead, you're not going to get anything out of it. You may as well do it now. I said, So I went home to my wife and I said, I want to present something to you. And I told her, I said, if they do it when we're dead, we're not going to get anything out of it. I says, why don't we give them a shot? Let's see what the script turns out to be. I'll have input. I'll have the final script in about a week. And, but I'm really happy with what they've written so far. Really happy. So
who would you want to play your role? Who would you want to play your?
I don't care. They asked me, who do you want to play a role? I said, how about Denzel Washington? Yeah, I said, I know if Denzel is in the lead, we'll get the movie made. It all depends on who the cast is. So I don't care about that. Honestly, my concern would be that they tell the story the right way. That's it. Because that is part of a legacy when they do that. And so far, what I've seen in the script, one of the reasons I always rejected it, because they wanted to make a real mob shoot 'em up movie. And I said, listen, if you don't tell the whole story about the transformation of my life, I'm not going to do it. It's got to be real in that regard. I said, look, I've been out of the life almost as long as longer than I was in the life. I've spent 20 years on the street, and obviously I grew up in it. But, I'm out of it 30 years now, 35 years. So you got to tell the whole story.
And you're out of it without witness protection.
No witness
and
protection.
And you're the only one who's left that life without witness protection, if I'm not mistaken.
Publicly. I've never went into hiding or anything else. And
you're a high-profile individual.
Yeah, no, publicly, I don't know of anybody else. I really don't. Of anybody that's walked away, not entered a program, not put people in prison. I never put anybody in jail, and then lived to talk about it.
Are you, when you're out in public, do a lot of people approach you and, whether it's to take a picture with you, are they...
I will say this. I've always had a lot of stuff around me. People know who I am. But ever since I went on YouTube and social media, there's no question YouTube is the biggest platform in the world. I get noticed everywhere now, everywhere, in a good way. Hey, can I take a picture? I watch you on YouTube. I watch you on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. It's all good stuff. You know, I've said this many times. I have visited, I've spoken at almost 2,000 events since 1996 when I started this, all over the world. I've been to every major city in this country, usually several times. There are really good people around the world and in America, good people. I've been received well everywhere I go. And, you know, one of the reasons that I've got into politics, meaning that I've expressed my opinions really well, because there are good people that just try to go out and earn a living and take care of their families and have some vacation time and enjoy themselves. A lot of good people. And when I see the government abusing our country and people to that way, it really upsets me. And honestly, otherwise I wouldn't get involved because I know how government could be. But there's good people that struggle and suffer because of decisions that are made on the top that are very detrimental.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, it's like, I want to point out, I talk to people online and say, listen, this country right here is $37 trillion in debt.
I think we just surpassed 38 today or yesterday.
38 trillion. You guys didn't cause that.
Yeah.
People paying their taxes, we didn't cause that. Irresponsible government caused that. But what do? They come to us, you know, raise your taxes, you got to do this and that. The people on top are the ones that you have to make sure you hold accountable so that they do the right thing for the country.
Yeah. We began this podcast in 2018, and we started it because of the abuse that was taking place in the government. We sat down, we started talking about how our tax dollars were being abused, how the people up top have the total control over what we have to say. And Trump was actually one of the reasons why we began it as well. And we need more and more people to speak out for it because they think that, you know what, especially the individuals that come from the Soviet era, our parents, where they think that, you know what, your vote doesn't really matter. Prop 50 that's on the ballot this November 5th, we're advocating people to vote no on Prop 50.
Right. Because
the state of California, as of right now, is in total shambles. And the people up top, the Gavin, Newsom, and all, absolutely. If that Prop 50 passes, I don't think a lot of people understand how bad California is going to get. You can't allow this same democratic government to continue to operate the way it's operating. When you talk about don't fix it if it's not broken, well, this isn't that case. This is a broken governmental system. It needs to be fixed at this 100%. Point.
Well, listen, I had Eric Trump. I interviewed him last week, and I told him straight out, you know, first of all, people have accused me of being in Trump's pocket, which is so stupid. I'm not in anybody's pocket. I vote for the people that I think are going to do the best job for my country, my children, and my grandchildren. I'm 74 years old. What are they going to do to me? And unfortunately for them, I'm a survivor. I'll always figure out a way to get myself whatever I need to do. But other people are not in that position. I will be the strongest voice against Newsom. The guy is the worst. He's a fraud. He's a phony. He's a hypocrite. I'm saying it out. I'm a Christian, but you got to call people out because this guy is just devastating what he has done to this state. And now he wants to try to do it to our country. No, not without a fight. There's no way. These people are just, they're frauds. I can see it in a minute. They're frauds. And you know what? It's okay to be a fraud. You know, people used to complain, you know, you guys were on the street, you were bad guys. I know, but we were bad guys with one another. We didn't take an oath, put our left hand on Bible, right hand, swear to tell the truth, that we're going to defend the people that put us in office. We didn't do that. You knew who we were and what we were about. If you didn't want to be with us, stay away from us. Okay. But you get up there, you put your left hand on the Bible, right hand, swear to protect the people, and then you totally disavow that, and you hurt people. You bring, you know, millions of people into this country. Look, and again, I'm getting off. Of course we need immigration. Let the right people come in here legally. This is what this country was built on. No problem with that at all. But you let gang people come in here and take over neighborhoods. You let rapists and murderers come in here and kill only because one reason. Don't let anybody tell you any different. They don't care about these people. There's no humanitarian reasons. They wanted to bring them in and make every state blue so that they never lose an election again. That was the total scheme. Nothing more. You could break it down to that. If you have any idea, you've been on the street, you could see through it in a minute. They don't ever want to lose power. That's it. Why do they hate Trump? Because he's not one of them. He stands in the way of their maintaining power and control, period. And they hate him for it.
And we saw it during COVID when schools were shut down, ballparks, all sporting events shut down, movie theaters shut down. But you know what? Gavin Newsom's winery was open.
Of course. And he was having dinner at the French Laundry without a mask among many people, and we couldn't even go into a restaurant.
Yeah. And one of the things that we would always mention on the show was flights. Anytime you'd go to the airport, you'd have to stand 6 feet apart while boarding the plane. But it was okay when we were stuck inside of a plane like sardines, flying for 5 to 6 to 10 hours from state to state, from country to country.
Well, COVID knew, and it would kind of, at that point, disappear while you're on the plane.
Oh, just like the restaurants, right? Yeah. When you were sitting down to eat, you take your mask off. COVID knew you were eating. Yeah. But when you had to go to the bathroom,
you got to put the mask on. It made no sense.
See, I don't understand, Michael. Why weren't people realizing that this was all BS?
I'm going to tell you why. You cannot blame people. You, here, we have the luxury of being able to watch the news and pay attention to what's going on. We have to understand how other people live their lives. They're working 8-10 hours a day. They come home, they got a family to take care of, whatever. They're trying to make ends meet. The greater part of our society and population is just trying to survive and make ends meet. They don't have the time to be involved like we are. So they turn on the TV for 1 minute. Oh, yeah, you know, Democrat. I voted Democrat all my life. Oh, it sounds good. I'm not supposed to be Republican. They throw their vote. They don't know. You can't get mad at them. You can't upset them. They don't have the luxury of being in the know like we are. That's the thing. Because like I said, there's good people around this country. And I take it personal when you give your word to protect somebody and then you abuse them. And that's what happens here in a great degree. All these people that claim they're here to, they don't care one bit about us. It's all about them staying in power. You know, there was one, let me ask you this. How could a person like this be in Congress? Think about it. There's a person that got up 2 weeks ago in front of a committee. She's a congresswoman. I'll name her name, Jasmine Crockett. And she gets in front of it at this hearing publicly. And she says, the job of the police department is not to protect people. Their job is to investigate crime. Did you ever hear of anything so ridiculous? This is a congresswoman whose constituents rely on her, number one, to take care of the community. How could you say the police are not there to protect you? Why are they in blue? Why are they on the beat? Why are they driving in patrol cars?
LAPD's slogan is to protect and to serve.
Exactly.
No, that's social workers are supposed to protect.
Oh, is that what it is? Huh?
Yeah. So how is somebody like that, how can you trust them to work in your best interest?
It's a power grab. All it is a power grab. And a lot of these congressmen, House representatives, senators, there needs to be term limits for them.
100%. There never will be, but there needs to.
Really? You don't think they'll ever have term limits? No. You look at Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. We had an episode last week where Mitch McConnell literally is falling over.
He's freezing up.
He's freezing up on interviews where they're asking him, Senator, will you be running for re-election in 2026? It's like all of a sudden, brain freeze. He's completely out. And then Nancy Pelosi. And these individuals, if you look very closely, which a lot of people aren't noticing, is they're constantly being escorted and helped when walking.
Of course. They can't give up the power. Can't give up the power. Why? We're in a government shutdown as we speak. Maybe it'll be over. Why is Congress getting paid during the shutdown that they caused, and air traffic controllers and TSA, they're not getting paid? Why should they be? They caused this. And yet people, I was in the airport yesterday. TSA guy says, I said, how you feeling? You holding up? He said, well, we're not getting paid, but we're okay. Don't worry about it. Why are they not getting paid? And Congress is getting paid, and they caused the shutdown.
Yeah, we were flying in from Armenia to LA, and we're circling Vegas 3 times. And my driver texted me saying, why haven't you entered California yet? Why are you circling Las Vegas? And I'm like, I have no idea. And then it dawned to me that, oh man, there's a government shutdown. Air traffic control is probably not working at LA. Long behold, we found out that they were waiting for the shift that's willing to not get paid to work to show up.
Yeah. And they don't care. They don't care. Trust me when I tell you. The only time they're really going to care, if the polls started to show one way or the other, hey, you guys are really getting to blame, you better end this, then they'll end it. They don't care. All they care about is staying in power.
Some doctors treat pain, others help you understand it. Dr. Rafi Guregian has dedicated his career to helping people live stronger, healthier, and more aware of their bodies. His approach goes beyond quick fixes. It's about rebuilding movement, discipline, and mindset. A true professional who's changing the way people think about health and recovery. Presented by the Wisenuts Podcast, highlighting leaders who make a difference.
When you're involved in an accident, choosing the right attorney is the most important decision you could ever make. Let us show you why Megritian law is different from everybody else. With a full litigation team of over 11 attorneys, we're able to take your case to trial. More importantly, the foundational pedigree of our business is customer service, so you'll always get a call. And lastly, we're results driven. We win. Let us show you how. Give us a call, 818-530-1300 or www.bestcaraccidentattorney.com.
Was there ever a time, because I remember when 40 years ago we moved out here from Armenia. For example, the TV shows I would watch as a kid was Leave It to Beaver and Lassie and then Flipper.
Gilligan's Island.
It was all
Father Knows Best.
It was all like very family oriented and none of this political and, gender ideology and trying to, it all very natural to us. And then over the last decade or so, it's completely gone the opposite way, politically speaking, socially, everything. So with your experience over the last 7 decades of, being on Earth, you were born and raised here, right? Or
yeah, I was born in New York. Yeah.
So was there ever a time, let's say in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where you started noticing, things are shifting and the government is now trying to infiltrate the American family? Because, like, for example, back then, I remember just like in Armenia, all the neighbors knew each other. Same thing here. You would go to your neighbor, knock on their door, borrow, can I get a stick of butter? They would come. In today's age, nobody knows their neighbor. You may see them once every other week when you're putting the trash out and just wave at them. You have no idea who they are. No name, no nothing. So how do you think we'll ever be able to go back to that place and time where families got together, the neighbors knew each other, the government wasn't as controlling and as manipulative. I mean, yeah, they've always been controlling, but it just seems like now they're involved in every aspect of our lives.
Well, first of all, we have a behemoth government. We have too big a government. It's something our founding fathers never envisioned. Never. They didn't want a big behemoth government like we have now. But, I believe this. A couple of things I'll bring out. The major problems of what's going on in this country are the breakup of the family, the nuclear family.
Yeah.
That's it. Breakup of the family. We talk a lot of these African Americans, black kids, that are involved in crime and all the struggle. I'm in prison with them. None of them had a father. None of them had a father that they knew. Obviously, they came into this world, but they didn't have a father that they knew. No guidance. They gravitate to the street. They're with the gangbangers, the drug dealers. They end up in prison. They have no guidance. That's number one. If we don't bring the family back into this country, we're never going to be the same. That's number one. Will it happen? I don't know. Number two, there's no question in my mind. Look, I'm a person of faith. I'm a devout Christian. This is demonic. We're in a spiritual warfare now. When you have people in government at the highest level saying it's okay and advocating for children, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old, having gender-affirming surgery and changing their genders. They're not even old enough to think if they should have a drink or something, but we're allowing them to change their genders. This is demonic. There's no question about it. When you have abortion in the 9th month, and in New York, this guy won't admit it, but it's the truth. The former mayor there is resigning, or he's not running again. He allowed for an aborted abortion in the 9th month for the baby to be euthanized afterwards, after it was born. That's murder. When you have things like this going on, this is demonic. This is how you destroy a civilization or a society. Now, is it happening from China? You know, I've read, and I believe to a great degree, China buying up all farmland around this place here, COVID coming in. They want to be the superpower in the world. Are they infiltrating us in a way where they're destroying our family and our society as we know it? That's a possibility. I think there's grounds for us to believe that. There's evidence to see that. But at the end of the day, the breakup of the family and this demonic spiritual warfare that's going on, it's unheard of. I mean, did you ever think in your life there was going to be, according to people, 20 different genders? Him, she, they, though. It's binary. I don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. We still don't know what any of this means.
No.
I mean, we grew up on male and female.
Exactly, because that's it. Because that's what it is. It's not we're making it up and we're trying. You know, now they want transsexual people, men, playing against women in sports.
No, it's not going to happen.
They're men.
No way.
Biologically and every other, they're men. Why would you want to jeopardize women like that? And they claim that they're all for women. They're such a bunch of hypocrites and frauds.
There was a comedian, I think I sent it to you guys the other day. I mean, I was cracking up on Instagram. He said, why is it that, you know, in sports like, you know, you've got swimming and tennis and all these different, where they're contemplating, okay, well, maybe men should compete in women's sports. The one sport that it doesn't matter is chess. If you want to compete, how come women don't compete against men in chess? It's not a physical sport. It's a mental sport. Can you call it a sport? I don't know
I don't know what that
so it's that when I heard that, I just fell off my chair. I was like, you know what? This guy's right. If there's one sport you guys want to kind of commingle, it should be chess.
Yeah.
Why anything else?
The feminist brain will explode.
Yeah, because there's too much brain power at work, you know? It's not physical at that point. And maybe women are smarter than men in some cases, so they don't want to compete against smarter person.
I kind of want to go back to the whole father figure and the parenting that you talk about, the family core. You're absolutely right. A lot of the communities, and I don't want to just point at the Black community, but it's the Black community, the Latino community, even the white community. Anytime there's a father figure missing in a household, they seek it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when they seek it somewhere else, they end up with those gangs that you mentioned, or the neighbor next door who's a druggie, or some kid at school who's a bully and is a bad influence. And all of a sudden, you turn around, the mom looks at their son and they go, well, this is not my son. Who raised this kid? Well, you know who raised your kid is the neighbor, the gang, the schools, which again, public schools is another topic in its own, and that bully next door. That's who raised your kid, not the father figure, not the kid who is supposed to be, and again, we might get shit for this, but is supposed to be terrified of their father, but at the same time, love them and respect them in its own category as well. Because that's what it's about.
Yeah. And listen, you know, the Blacks unfortunately have been sold a bill of goods all these years that they're, you know, underprivileged because they want to keep them underprivileged. They want to keep them dependent upon the government. But I have many Black friends and they want the same opportunities that we have. No question. They don't want these handouts, at least the ones that I know. And look, I was in prison with numbers of them. I have many Black friends, many Latino friends. They would like to have the same opportunities as everyone else, but the government has kept them down. The government has made them to believe that the white man don't want you to succeed. We got to help you. They won't help you. You know, and it's all nonsense. You know, all this DEI nonsense. Are you comfortable with people that don't have the same ability in areas like, you know, air traffic controllers? Don't you want the best people in there? Making sure these planes don't crash in midair. And you want the best people. Why would you even think of hiring somebody that's less competent than someone else just because of the color of their skin? No. Why don't you give those people the same opportunity when they're younger to have the same ability as the people that are white or whatever color you want to call them? If you really cared about, that's what you would do. You wouldn't hire them because of the color of their skin, when they're incompetent or they don't have the same ability as people that we want in such serious jobs.
Yeah. You want to talk about DEI? Bring DEI into professional sports. Why not have DEI in the NBA?
Yeah, if that were the case, you wouldn't allow any blacks in there, right? They'd all be white.
Yeah, and then they'd be like, they shouldn't be. The whites shouldn't be playing. Well, it's like, the whites shouldn't be playing, or are the blacks better at basketball than the whites? Better. Well, they're better. Well, doesn't that defeat the purpose of DEI?
Yeah, they're better. Let's face it, they're superior athletes in that sport.
Absolutely. And
so the owners want to win, and they put them on the field, and that's what they should be doing. 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. But, when it comes to, like I said, an air traffic control, that's different. Why?
Yeah. I mean, we got to bring common sense back to humanity at this point. I mean, it's an uphill battle, Michael.
It's an uphill battle, but you know what? We have 3 years now with Trump where he basically has the backs of common sense people. You may not like what he's doing with the tariffs because people have said to me, I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I know business. I'm not informed enough to know whether these tariffs are going to work or not. I'm giving him a chance because he's a business guy, he's successful, and he's been talking about this for a long time. And Trump always has something else up his sleeve. He's using these tariffs to bring these other nations to the table so he can negotiate with them. I get it. But I'm not going to sit here and say 100% what he's doing is right with the tariffs. I don't know. But I do know this. When he stands up and says, there are only two genders, you're right, 100% I'm for it. When he stands up and says, I'm against gender-affirming surgery in minors, I'm for it. When he stands up and says, we need an immigration policy and we need our border protected, I'm for it. So I don't care if his name is Trump, Smith, Jones, Garcia, doesn't matter to me. These are the policies that I support. So we have 3 years of common sense. And people with common sense have to speak out. Because I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm glad I wasn't able to make this prediction, but I was making it. If Kamala Harris gets into office, this country's done. Finished. We were done. There would have only had to been a revolution to bring it back to where it was, because they would have done everything in their power to impose their will on us, and their will is not. The will on the left is not good. Not good for us.
Very demonic.
Demonic.
Very, very demonic.
I think these are topics we can talk about for weeks in, weeks out if we sit here. But we have two of your beautiful bottles here sitting right next to us that I think we should talk about.
Well, here's the thing, and I think we can bring it up with this. We have wine, and I am surrounded by Armenians right now. I'm the only Italian in the room, right? Which is great. And the reason I say that is because I never knew any Armenians. Never knew any Armenians. So I have a young guy come to me, and we met about 6 years ago, and he was an Armenian guy. And what he does is he sends me an email. He says, Mr. Michael, I would love to have lunch with you. And because of the way he wrote the email, I said, okay, we could spend a half an hour together. So he drives down from Sacramento, and I sit with this young man, and we're together for 3 hours, right? I was very intrigued by him. And he says to me, since I'm 10 years old, I've been following you. You're one of my heroes. So what 10-year-old kid is going to follow me, right, as a hero? But everything about him impressed me in that meeting. We stayed in touch. And then it was a couple of years later that he came to me and said, Mr. Michael, very respectful. He said, my uncle has a vineyard in Armenia. And he gave me the history of Armenian wine. Oldest vineyards in the world under the new civilization. When Noah's Ark landed, it landed at the foot of Mount Ararat. The flood subsided. And the first vineyards in the new civilization were planted at the foot of Mount Ararat in that region, which is Armenia. So he tells me the story, and he says, you have a story of transformation your whole life. I've watched it. We would love you to introduce our wine into the United States in a big way. I want you to brand it. Let me taste the wine. Let me look into it. What's your price point? Because I like to make my products available to everybody. I'm not an elitist in that regard. So we come together. Why? Because his family had a Papa John's Pizza up in Sacramento. It was going under. It was going bankrupt. His family took it over, and they made a huge success out of it. So I meet his father. I meet his mother. I said, wow, these are family people like me, like our family. I really feel close to them, right? I feel a kindred with them. We go into business. So we're together now for 3 years. And The wine business in itself is down right now. We're way up. We're way up. We've been selling our product everywhere, every major chain. People have been accepting it. They've been loving the wine. But better than that, when I sat down with him, and this goes to something I said before, I said, you know what, Sam? I love wine. I go to Napa Valley. I drink Barolo, Italian wine, all this. I love wine. I said, but I don't really know anything about the business. I said, but we're going to learn it together. I said, but I'm going into this because of you. You are the product. You. The way you present yourself, the way you carry yourself, your family, I love it. And it's been a great marriage, so to speak, to this point. So, that's how it all started. But this wine, I want to, especially for all the people in LA, this is our Areni. Now, you were talking to me about, you visited,
Yes.
where this wine was first, where the vineyards were first planted and where this wine was first produced.
Over 6,000 years ago.
6,000 years ago. This is the parent to Pinot Noir. This is the parent, Areni. And it's beautiful. I love this. I'm a big Pinot guy. I love this wine. Very affordable. And for those of you in the Glendale and all the area that, all over the country, but it's all in Ralph's supermarkets. It's everywhere you can get it. And people are just loving it. It's our premier, flagship wine. I have to mention one other thing. He brought me a little while back a pomegranate wine, fruit wine, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not into pomegranates. I don't really like it. But I tasted it. It's pretty good. But it was in a pomegranate-shaped bottle. He puts it out there. Can't keep enough of it on the shelves. People are absolutely loving it. So now, again, out of Armenia, we have a pomegranate wine that's available everywhere. We have a blackberry, a strawberry, and a cherry
This is
wine.
the blackberry,
This
right?
is the blackberry. This is my favorite. I love this. But here's what's happening. People are not only buying the wine, because they're in the shape of the fruits, they're going home and they're making vases out of it, putting flowers in it. They're putting candles in it. And so it's been I think this is going to be really the
These
future
are
of our wine.
all bottled in Armenia, or you bring
All
the
on-
wine
no,
in?
everything's from Armenia.
You don't bottle it here.
Everything is from
Everything's
Armenia.
bottled over there.
Yes. And I'm going to be visiting. I've had my friends and associates go down and visit the vineyard. They said it's beautiful. Armenia is beautiful, but I'll be there this summer.
So when are we booking our flight with Mr. Michael and his
It'll be
family to Armenia?
my daughter's getting married in Italy in July, and then either probably right after that we'll be heading to Armenia. So it'll be the end of July.
So we got to block off maybe end of
3
July.
weeks, maybe,
3 weeks.
roughly.
Yeah.
Roughly.
We're going to have a good time.
You are going to love Armenia and the rich
Can't wait.
history behind it, especially as a man of faith. The churches, it's one of those countries where it'll feel like home to you because of the Italian heritage.
Yeah.
And the culture is, as far as the Armenian culture, is very, very similar to the Italians.
I see that.
We're like cousins.
I absolutely see that. I mean, family, the whole family lives together. It's great. We have the same. I mean, my kids are all around me here. We're together on Sunday all the time for dinner. I mean, it's all about family. That's why I'm saying, you talked about the old shows, Father Knows Best, Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver. It was all about family.
Yeah.
You know when this started to turn? Married with Children.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that show?
Yeah, of course.
Funny as heck.
Al Bundy.
But Al Bundy, who happens to be a really nice guy, I know him, but they made a buffoon out of the father. That's when this started. All of a sudden, the father was not Father Knows Best anymore. He wasn't the leader of the family. He was the buffoon.
You're absolutely right.
And that
Because then,
trend started.
even if you look at Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens, all these shows, it's female dominated.
Exactly.
The husband is constantly made fun of and constantly belittled, and he plays, like you said,
Exactly.
the buffoon. Whereas,
Wow.
right?
Think about it.
I mean, but then prior to that, it wasn't that way. You
Look,
had
a lot of
Family Matters. You had
Full House.
Full House.
Bill Cosby
Bill
show.
Cosby, yeah.
I mean, so many of them were all the main. I don't want to say main character, but
But the father figure was
Yeah.
portrayed as the head of the household.
exactly.
Which
then
is what it
then
should
it
have
changed. It changed to, oh, you don't know anything. You're just you're just a
How old are
UPS
you?
driver.
How old do I look, Michael?
been. You're young, man.
I am young.
You're like,
I'm 38.
I was going to, how old?
38.
38?
Yes.
Oh, I had you younger than that. I figured around 34, 35.
I'm aging gracefully.
Yes, you're doing good. Keep
It's
it
the
up.
beard.
It's the beard. It is the beard. My daughter tells me all the time, especially when I'm getting the whites right on the chin.
Mhm.
She tells me, she goes, "Dad, I don't want you to become a grandpa." I'm like, well, look, we're not there just yet. I don't think you understand what it means to be a grandpa. But I'm like, Don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm going to be your dad for all my life and all your life. Don't worry about that.
Well, see, that's the thing, because I posted this poster in my kids' playroom. It's got a knight, and then it's a beautiful saying about how in life you never lose, you learn. And then on the bottom it says, I promise to be here to protect you and be here for the rest of my life, but I won't be here for the rest of your life. So my son, my older one, 7-year-old, Noah, had read that. And then when I tell him that, I'm like, I'm going to be here forever. Don't worry about it. He's like, Papa, but that's not what it says on that poster. It says you're not going to be here for the rest of my life. So now he's put me in a bind where he's like, okay, so he calls it infinity. He's like, when are you going to infinity? I'm like, don't worry, it's a long time. He's like, yeah, but you're 45. He's like, are you going to be here for another 100 years? I'm like, yeah. He's like, but people don't live to 145.
Oh, man, they're smarter than
so
you
now
think.
I'm having this debate with, he's calculating, okay, how much
Kids are
time do I
smart
have?
for that. Kids are smart for that.
He's going to end
But
up
listen
auditing
to
you.
this statistic, which my pastor just run off. I want to make sure I get it right. When the father is the spiritual head of the household and attends church regularly, 70% of the family and children will do the same. When the father is not the spiritual leader and it's the mom that is going to church and the father's not, only 15% of the children follow suit.
That big of a difference.
That big of a gap. Yes.
That's huge.
That big of a gap.
Because fathers, I mean, they lead by example. They're not necessarily the ones that constantly sit down and, you got to do things this way and that way. They lead by example, I think. It's what the kids see the father do, regardless of boy or girl, they want to emulate.
Yeah.
That's
and that's not in any way taken away from the mom at all. You know, I've had this discussion. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are friends of mine. I get hit up for that all the time. You know who the Tate brothers are,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. By the way, they're much different when they're not on social media. Much different. Andrew is a really nice guy, very sensitive, believe it or not.
Really?
Very quiet. Yeah, quiet and sensitive. Tristan is more outspoken. But they do their thing and they do their thing. But when men are acting like men, like they should be, it's not demeaning to women. It's benefiting women. It's a benefit. We're not taking away. Listen, my wife is superior to me in certain ways. She's a little bit more perceptive than I am. She does things in the household I could never do. You know, she's very bright. She's independent. But I'm the spiritual leader of the house. She relies on me to protect her. She relies on me to support her. Not that she couldn't support herself. She's very capable, no question. You know, my kids say, why don't you let mom go to work? I said, number one, I'm old school. I'm not going to have any other man telling my wife what to do, period. End of story. That's how I think. I'm old school. Old school. Now, you know, I'll take care of my wife. I'll give her everything she needs. No problem. She'll need another guy telling her what to do. And some of the women go, oh, come on. No, it's just how I feel.
You're a sexist, Michael.
Yeah, I'm a sexist, but my wife's got everything she wants.
Yeah.
Now, if she said to me, I really want to go to work, am I going to stop her? Of course not.
Yeah, we're old school as well as far as the roles that play in the family. Father, provide, protect. Mother, to nurture and raise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And if possible, I'm not knocking, because unfortunately there are women that have to put their kid in childcare and have to go to work. That's the state of our economy today. I'm not knocking that at all. But I would much prefer that women take care and raise their children, because that's how it should be.
Oh, man. We
That's
can go
a
into another huge
No, I mean,
topic with Michael with this as well.
Think
The
about what a
family,
huge
household, the
responsibility
dynamics.
it is to raise your children. Huge. Because you're not working, you think you're doing anything less by raising the children that you love, that are going to be members of society. You want them to be productive. That's huge. Let me tell you something. When I was in jail for 8 years, I credit both my ex-wife, because she raised 3 great kids. My wife, she raised 3 great kids. She did it alone without me there. I don't know that I could have done that.
Yeah. Being a mother is or a stay-at-home mother. Being a stay-at-home mother is much, much more difficult than a lot of people think it is.
What job is more important than that?
Let me tell you this.
I've stayed home with the kids for 2 days, 3 days. And remember, I told you guys.
You want to lose your mind.
Because my in-laws weren't here. My parents weren't
Trust
here.
me.
They were overseas. And all of a sudden, my wife's like, listen, I need your help. Can you hang out with the kids for 2 to 3 days max until the parents come back. I'm like, yeah, how bad could it be? By the second day, I was like, I need you to stay home with the kids.
100%.
By the second day,
Listen,
he had a fentanyl patch on him.
We're not programmed to do it, man.
Oh my God. My little grandson comes over here. You see the car, he's into monster trucks. In 4 or 5 hours, I'm worn out. And my wife is here. I'm like, and I love the kid. I just enjoy every minute, but he wears me out because he's running all over the place. But I will tell you this, my daughter, Amanda, her son, my little grandson, Jax, is autistic. And he's high on the spectrum, really autistic. The job that my daughter has done with him to bring him to where he is today, unbelievable. The devotion she had, the love she had, the therapy, the time she spends with him daily. And he's a handful.
That's a super mom right there.
Super mom. Yeah. I'm not going to be able to do that.
Fathers are not built for that.
No, we're not built for that. But is there a more important job?
Absolutely not.
No way.
That's why I think every woman out there should be proud to be a stay-at-home mother. There's
100%.
There's nothing demeaning about it. That's the most important role you're ever going to play in your life.
Absolutely.
I mean, same as a father, but obviously our responsibilities are different. So anybody out there that thinks, no, I need to make a career of myself, and that's exactly what we talked about. You said, the nuclear family. That's what they're trying to push. Separate the mom from the house because now it's easier to control the kids and, program them however they need to.
You say that. Absolutely demonic. We had a president before, and listen, I have no horse in this race other than being concerned about my kids, my grandchildren, my country. We had a President Biden. This is what many things, but this really did it for me. He actually got up and publicly made this statement. He said, anybody that is against gender-affirming surgery in minors, it's actually immoral and outrageous for them to take that position. You're a father and a grandfather, you would state something, and you're the president of the United States who people are looking up to for guidance, and you make that statement, outrageous and immoral to do that to children? Take a knife to them and change them forever when they're 12 years old?
Michael, when you have rainbow flags flying side by side with the red, white, and blue at the White House, that's a problem right there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a big problem.
When you're involved in an accident, choosing the right attorney is the most important decision you could ever make. Let us show you why Megritian law is different from everybody else. With a full litigation team of over 11 attorneys, we're able to take your case to trial. More importantly, the foundational pedigree of our business is customer service, so you'll always get a call. And lastly, we're results driven. We win. Let us show you how. Give us a call, 818-530-1300 or www.bestcaraccidentattorney.com.
Some doctors treat pain, others help you understand it. Dr. Rafi Guregian has dedicated his career to helping people live stronger, healthier, and more aware of their bodies. His approach goes beyond quick fixes. It's about rebuilding movement, discipline, and mindset. A true professional who's changing the way people think about health and recovery. Presented by the Wisenuts Podcast, highlighting leaders who make a difference.
Technology should move your business forward, not hold it back. At Titan Elite IT Services and Consulting, we make sure it does. Our clients don't wait days for help. They get real-time answers, fast resolutions, and dedicated support, both on-site and remote. From Los Angeles to Orange and Ventura counties, our coverage is local, statewide, and nationwide. When you need us, we're already on the way. We're not just an MSP. We build with you, from cloud migration to security to every endpoint in your network.
At Titan Elite, we don't just solve problems. We prevent them from happening. We become a part of your team and we grow with you.
Titan Elite IT Services and Consulting. Strategic, scalable, trusted, and always on.
Recently, there's been major scandals going on with gambling, with the NBA, MLB, NFL, all these professional sporting. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your thoughts are?
Yeah. Obviously, when this broke, I got hit up by all the media because I was a spokesperson for all the pro sports and the NCAA. And this happened when I was recruited out of prison to come and speak to athletes about gambling, because the leagues knew I had a big gambling operation on the street. We had many athletes gambling with us. So basically I entered into a program. I led the program to educate athletes about the dangers of gambling and who to hang out with and who to avoid. So when this whole thing broke, immediately I'm getting calls from everywhere. You know, can you come on? Can you explain to us what happened here? Look, here's the problem. Back in my day, when athletes wanted to gamble, they had to go to a bookmaker, or they had to go to Vegas, you know, Atlantic City a little bit, but they had to go to Vegas. They had to go someplace in order to gamble. Today, they got access to gamble on their phone. The more access you give somebody to get involved in something, the more it's going to happen, especially something like gambling. What happened today is no surprise. It's been going on. What happened in this scandal, I should say, to correct it. Let me say it again. What happened in this scandal has been going on for decades. Organized crime is always going to be involved in gambling. It's our main business. When Prohibition came around, it was short-lived. It was 10, 12 years, huge. When I was involved in the gas business, short-lived. I ran it for 7 or 8 years. We made a ton of money. But those things come and go. Gambling, always the major operation of organized crime. Are they always looking for an edge? Of course. Anytime they can get an athlete under their control, which is not difficult because athletes love to gamble. Why? It's an extension of their competitive nature. They raise the stakes on a competition. It makes it better for them. Michael Jordan, perfect example. Michael gambles on everything, because he's such a competitor. Now, does he have a gambling problem? I would say no. What do you mean? Michael it doesn't change his lifestyle when he wins. He's got so much money and he'll continue to have money. He can gamble all day long and he's still going to pay his rent. He's still going to pay his car. He's still going to live his same lifestyle. So he has a competition problem. He just wants everything to be that much more competitive. And I have some personal stories with that with him, but it's always going to be a problem. It's going to be more of a problem now because now they have access. Just recently, they're allowing now, the NCAA changed their policy to allow college athletes to gamble on pro sports. Before they weren't allowed to. Now they're allowed to gamble on pro sports. It just gives them more access to get in trouble. So this is not a surprise. When I didn't laugh, but I said, oh, what's new? You just happen to find these people now, you know? And there were 4 organized crime families involved in New York, according to the investigation. Now, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. The one family that wasn't involved in the investigation was my former family, the Colombo guys.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm saying either they got real smart and they knew how to avoid the investigation, or they're really not doing anything now. I don't know which is worse for them. But anyway, yeah, so I've been doing a lot of interviews with respect to this. But
where do you think this is going to end up?
I think what happened here was the tip of the iceberg.
Really?
Yeah. The reason being, one of the informants or undercover people has 3,000, they said, at least 3,000 texts and recorded phone conversations among the players. This is going to be very widespread. There's no question.
Do you think there's going to be conversations of players throwing games intentionally?
Yeah, I mean, this guy was working undercover for quite some time. And he was recording phone conversations, and he was involved in text messages and all of this. You know, one thing that I tell when I speak to young people, I go into prisons, I talk to young people. I said, let me tell you something. Let me give you some good advice. If you want to commit crimes and be involved in criminal activity, do it alone. That's it. This way, if you get in trouble, it's only you. Anytime you do something with somebody else, you're putting your life in their hands. Because if they get in trouble, they make a mistake, do something, the government offers them along, they're going to give you up 99% of the time. That's why my former life fell apart. Everybody becoming informants. You know, so you're going to see more come out of this because as soon as now these arrests come down, indictments, people start to talk even more. So if there's players that you don't know who are involved, these guys are going to give them up.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks seeing what actually transpires from this.
Yeah, this will have legs, so to speak. It's going to continue.
But, Michael, we have a gift for you all the way from
Armenia.
Armenia.
Love that.
This is a.
Well, wait a minute. This is another gift because you already brought me a gift here today.
Well, yeah. Well, look, we're Armenian.
You welcome your family welcomed us into your beautiful home. So the least we can do is bring you, this gift so you can maybe display it somewhere. Remember the Wisenuts when you play backgammon with your grandkids or
excellent.
Your children. But this was handmade in Armenia.
I have to say this: the Armenian people are very creative and
you can open that. It's customized for you.
That's
if you
beautiful.
open it, you'll see it.
It has your name engraved on it.
Make sure I get this. Okay. Whoop.
Boom.
Dice. I'm familiar with dice. No worry. Wow, this is beautiful.
You see your name in the middle there?
Look at that. Yeah. My name. This is beautiful, guys. Thank you very much.
Of course.
And my granddaughter actually likes playing backgammon.
Well,
So this will be.
We
this will
call
be
it
great.
nardi. That's the Armenian way of.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate it. I mean it. And I feel very comfortable and very at home with you gentlemen. Really.
As do we. It's been an honor to sit down with you, hear your stories. I mean, we've heard your stories many, many times, but to be sitting next to you, and this experience is truly, truly once in a lifetime experience for us.
Thank you.
yes, definitely. We appreciate you, your wife, your entire family for allowing us into your home. As you mentioned, not a lot of people enter the Franzese home. So,
Well, my wife was really pushing. She said, "We have to sit with these gentlemen. We have to." I said, "Okay, we're going to do it." Yeah.
well, thank you so much, Michael. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. In your wine, it's found. Tell us exactly where it's found, so people, if they're looking for your wine, where they can find
Well,
it.
we're in Walmart. Walmart is our non-alcoholic wine. But we're in Costco. We're in Total Wines. We're in Bevmo. We're in Kroger, which is Ralph's out in Southern California. We're all over the place now. And of course, you can order us online at franzesewine.com. We have a good direct-to-consumer availability too. And we're really, I really appreciate it. People are loving the Armenian wine. It's a different story. People, I got a French wine, I got Italian wine, I got a Napa Valley. Everybody knows that. But when they hear something about Armenia and they hear the story behind it, they're intrigued and they want to try it. And all we need to do is get them to try it. And they're coming back. So,
And we're going to definitely connect you to the Guinea Fest, which is the wine festival, the Armenian
Right.
Wine Festival, when it's happening next year.
excellent.
And bring you out there to promote this even more.
We'll be there. Promise.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Gentlemen,
Thank you.
Guys, today's episode will be up and running on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms mañana. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys all next week.